Hello, it is Seth again. Yeah, happy November 15th, 2021. It is a cloudy, overcast day uh, here in Iowa. Typically, I've suffered from seasonal affective disorder in the past because I spent a lot of time in Southern California, and it's always sunny in Southern California. And that sort of stuck me in a certain modality of thought or modality of belief that I am a depressive person when it gets colder. I'm a depressive person when days get longer. I have less energy when days get longer. And these are themselves sort of self repeated patterns and self repeated beliefs that I could trick myself into believing where I'm never going to wind up getting out of that situation. It becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. And we tell ourselves so many things, and we that can become self fulfilling prophecies. Um, Personally, I've recognized this with partners that I've had. And I really just believe that this is because, some of the partners that I've had have been more open with me than certain male friends that I've had. People have a certain nature of a protective masculinity that prevents them from revealing anything that might possibly be perceived as a weakness, even to a close friend, even to a sibling. And we have that even in our current day and age, this sort of protective masculinity, the same sort of thing that I had fallen into myself at a different time, where if I only had, a certain definition of muscles, a certain number of muscles, I could somehow protect myself from other harms, but I couldn't protect myself from emotional pain and suffering from other people's actions that I didn't have any control over. And then my own response to those actions, that itself was sort of couched in this protective masculine identity. And these things that, things that are repeated to ourselves, that sometimes we're not allowing ourselves to be sensitive. We're not allowing ourselves to cry, to reveal these insecurities because we don't want to acknowledge them ourselves. And for me, it was difficult for me to get over certain traumatic events in my life. Um, my family sort of abandoning me at one point, um, due to my alcoholism and addiction, um, which was, way too soon and bizarre in my mind because it very much seemed to be a self fulfilling prophecy of theirs that they didn't want me to be successful and wanted me to be a scapegoat because of their insecurities and failures and things like that. But there's an impossibility of having that conversation in an open way due to those insecurities that they never wanted to bring up or acknowledge. They never wanted to acknowledge the truth that I would point out to them because all my life I've sort of just been sort of an honest seeker of truth, whether it be in philosophy or my own personal experiences. That's always been the most important thing to me. But the most important thing is also, you know, ultimately not to live a life that has regret in it, that has self doubt in it, that has you living in the past or the future. So you're not allowing yourself to appreciate the present moment and deal with situations as they might come up in time. And especially with women in particular that I know of, but I know of it in men too, and things that I've struggled with myself. Body image issues. And it doesn't matter what success or what position we may have in society, even with technological alienation, and even with, sort of the embrace of different bodies in America. I my wife is Chinese, and they have a very sort of stick figure notion of beauty. Um, and she's curvy, and I absolutely love that. But many women don't love themselves for the bodies with which they were created, and many men don't love themselves for the bodies that they have because they don't have enough muscle, or they're too fat, and things like that. And people all the time on Facebook and things like that will put out aspirations like, I will love myself more at a certain period of time that I'm now on this program of weight loss and development, as if that, you know is sort of the one element that's missing. But to me, the primary thing that should come first is that people appreciate that they're perfect the way they are, and they're just maybe improving upon that perfection. And they just appreciate themselves for who they are in that moment. And then they're just striving to only improve themselves, but not compete with other people, not, you know, uh, not intoxicate themselves in any way with some other notions of beauty that they feel will always be out of reach, because there's more to life than that. And someone's inner beauty and inner strength, and, for lack of a better term, swag, comes out when you love yourself. And when you project that into the world, it comes out, and you become a more beautiful, confident person. So the gift lies within all of us. And we just have to find the means to access that and realize that. And then we'll have the pleasure of living in the now, and the pleasure of being at one with ourselves and our bodies at that moment, and not be struggling against anything, and not think that we'll only be happy if we lose a certain amount of weight, or you would place that with anything else too. I mean, other people, it's money and material possessions, but all these things that delay us from being happy in the now with what we have, and being content with ourselves now. And I think that's a real important lesson that we oftentimes can very much lose track of in this technologically alienated society, where people on Instagram and things like that only project these certain aspects of themselves that don't demonstrate who they really are. Although that said, I do have a friend who's absolutely wonderful and posts pictures of, her, the aftermath of childbirth, and how beautiful she is as a result of that. Because that's what society wants women to produce babies, and yet it shames them sometimes afterwards for the after effects of producing life, which is a sad thing. So she's repurposed that in this beautiful way. And, you know, there's so many out there who can and do. And that, always brings a smile to my face. So stay strong, love yourself. You're perfect just the way you are.